I graduated in 1994 with a BSc in Environmental Management and Technology, a little bit of acoustics focus at that time. I completed my PhD in Acoustic and Physical Properties of Poroelastic Media in 2000. Did some postdoctoral and consultancy work at Bradford University. And what's missing from there is that we set up a small company, and I'll share a little bit about that a bit later, a company called Acoustics. It was a Smart Award funded company, and became a director of that company. I joined Armacell, who I work for at the moment, in 2003, and I've been heavily involved in the development of new products and markets for acoustics and industrial insulation. And as Kirill mentioned, I'm the technical director of Armacell's Engineered Systems division. That's a dedicated division for the oil and gas sector. I'll do a short introduction to Armacell. I'll talk a little bit about some of the research challenges that we see in the industry. Maybe that's reflective of the industry as a whole. I'll let you be the judge of that. We'll talk about mutual benefits and collaboration, share a little bit about my story. Hopefully you'll see it as a story of success, and some closing and summary remarks. Very briefly, Armacell is a manufacturer, one of the world's largest manufacturers of acoustic and thermal insulation materials for heating and ventilation and air conditioning systems, plumbing, refrigeration, commercial and residential construction, and of course also the oil and gas business as well. About 75%, three-quarters of our business is in this particular sector. And we also do engineered foams as well, that go into the wind energy, PET foams for the composite structures of the blade, for example, automotive and transportation as well. Revenue's about 650 million. We spend about 9 million euros in R&D projects. So clearly substantially lower than what we've heard this morning in Arab, but nevertheless still quite sizable. About 1.4% of our annual revenue is spent in R&D. Why is it important for industry to consider research? Well, it's the driver behind what makes a business successful. If you look at particularly the challenges in the engineering and construction industry, particularly oil and gas as a sector, it's all about decreasing operating expenditure and about extending asset life. So it's about what technologies can we use and employ, not just material technologies, but sensor technologies. There's a whole raft of technologies that are needed to support this goal. And it's also important, of course, that these assets, these facilities remain competitive. In an oil and gas market, as you know, it's very highly dependent on the cost of oil, cost of energy, and it fluctuates obviously over the decades quite substantially, and it's really important that it remains competitive. Manufacturing organisations are often the drivers behind those new innovations, particularly material technologies, and an organisation like Armacell, we're a manufacturing organisation, so we very much lead some of those innovation activities. We are dependent either on our own R&D activities or on the R&D activities in combination with and collaboration with academic institutes. The limitations of industries going it alone. Well, I can speak from first-hand experience. Our company is very, very good and very specialised at particular core competences and capabilities, but we don't have the breadth and width to sort of look into new areas. So when it comes to aspects around multifunctionality, if you want a material to perform acoustically, thermally, also mitigate against some of the challenges that the industry faces, like corrosion under insulation, all of these things, you need to have this holistic understanding behind the technologies, and we have very, very good core competence perhaps in one area, but maybe not in others. So this is a limitation of industries going alone. There's a culture of now. There's a challenge, particularly today with fast-moving business and commercial targets, that people seem to lose sight of what is needed to future-proof a business. We can't just sit on our laurels and just expect that we can continue the next 10, 20 years with the technologies that we have today. But it's very, very difficult sometimes to convince our investors that we need to invest in technologies that might not come to fruition for another 5, 6, 7 years. Challenging market conditions also add to that. Market decline or stagnation presents a difficult decision for investors to justify spending R&D activity. And there's also, from the industry side, wrong perceptions about academic research, what it means. Well, if I work with this university, I'm going to have to give a share of any IP to this university, or that the universities are too slow in responding to the needs of our business. I think generally there's a misunderstanding of the research excellence excellence framework, and I think this is something that we should think about promoting, perhaps something we can discuss in some of the conversations later today. If we look at the mutual benefits of collaboration, well, clearly for industry, it enables UK industry to expand its capabilities in new technological areas and maintain its competitive edge. It's a safe place to incubate ideas and perform feasibility assessments prior to large-scale investment. It's often a cost-effective way of delivering development goals and provides access to expertise in other areas. For academic bodies, it reduces redundancy in specialist resources, equipment and testing facilities, research staff and technicians. There's a wealth of experience and capabilities in our academic institutes that I certainly don't believe is being tapped into, perhaps as much as it could be. Commercial partnerships fosters accountability. It's a really important word, that we are accountable, that we're making sure that the activities we're involved in is really, really worthwhile, and brings credibility to the work that goes on in academic environments. And it provides a platform for the development of young researchers as well. A little bit about my story. As I mentioned earlier, I completed my PhD in 2000 at the University of Bradford. My PhD was very much involved in developing, designing and creating novel acoustic absorbers. It was an EPSRC funded PhD, and that was the area of work that I was involved in. And as a result of that activity, we came across some technologies that enabled us effectively to tune acoustic absorbers. We're talking about materials that could be tuned to deal with particular frequencies, and we patented that technology, and we set up the spin-out company called Acoustics under the DTI SMART award. And at that point we were looking obviously for commercial partnerships as we started to sort of continue that path. In 2003 the technology was licensed. We found a buyer, as it were, in the technology, and it was licensed to Armacell for production scale-up and commercial exploitation. The company launched its first acoustic insulation product, a product called Armacell, and it had no dedicated acoustic product range before this point. So it's a company that was leading the field, if you like, in this particular area around thermal, but it was really doing nothing in acoustics. So it was the first dedicated acoustic range that the company launched. It's now one of the core product categories within the Armacell product portfolio, and it's very, very much a door opener to many of the thermal opportunities that sometimes are quite sizable for our business. And even though the acoustics itself might not be the larger part, it's been able to open that door. The success of the technology sparked the development of competitor copycat, arguably because of a lot of the success that we've had globally, and that's also caused our competitors to actually look at the technology and try to replicate as well. Over this time, if you've done your maths, you probably realise it was about 15 years ago when I joined Armacell. We've continued the collaboration activity and development activity with, first of all, Bradford University, and also we're now continuing with Sheffield University. That work has led us to actually improve on those capabilities and technologies, and we were able to develop systems that performed excellently in terms of oil and gas sector. We were able to look at technologies that offered superior acoustic insertion losses for reduced weight and thickness, and we're talking here about pipe lagging. You can probably tell from the picture, so we're talking about the reduction of the sound power from a pipe, or process pipe work, and also building in that multifunctionality of combined thermal performance and mitigation of corrosion as well. The collaboration has led to several UK postdoc sponsorships, and more recently the appointment of a PhD student to research or to continue the research into novel acoustic material technologies. These are initiatives that we started as Armacell in conjunction with Sheffield University. We continue to believe that regional IOA events and other sort of networking events, particularly this one, is going to be an important part in opening up doors and opportunities for our business. You know, I'll reflect back. I was having a conversation with John Richards just before we all sat down. John Richards from KBR, one of our clients, who probably about 13, 14 years ago we had a conversation, and I heard John speak about the costs associated with materials that weren't performing from a corrosion perspective. And a lot of that was acoustic materials, and how could we develop acoustic technologies that would also deal with these thermal and corrosion challenges. And John's also in the room today. So that all came about as a part of the networking activities. So, summary and closing remarks. The engineering and construction sector is dependent upon technological advances to remain commercially viable. There are resource limitations and challenging economic conditions which limit businesses' ability to conduct their own research activities. There's no doubt in my mind that the UK is a powerhouse when it comes to capabilities and expertise in acoustics research that is absolutely ready to be tapped into. The UK Acoustics Network provides a platform for industries and academia to connect and collaborate, which is good for UK productivity. And it all goes to support UK prosperity, which you would have heard a bit about from regarding the EPSRC talk earlier. But there's no doubt in my mind that this group is where it's all about. This is where the rubber hits the road, and it's where opportunities can be explored. So thank you.